Hi all, I'm Billy No Mates, and this is hashtag Let's Get Awkward. Now, the past week has been feeling a little bit more awkward than usual. Could it be because I, an English person living in Scotland, had to explain to actual Americans how the Electoral College worked, or explain the value of votes in each state and pointed out which ones either candidate needed to win? Maybe, or is it the fact that Trump lost the election in both the Electoral College and the popular vote? Yes, it is. However, Trump isn't giving up and is being censored on Twitter for spreading lies about fraud and that he won fair and square. What a legacy to leave. I mean, he is the first president to only have one term in about 30 years and has left the US in such a state that it could make Biden's job harder than it already is. Funny how the Simpsons predicted he would leave the country in disarray. Thankfully, though, they aren't completely broke. But I don't want to look at this. I want to look at specific people in the election, including Sarah McBride. She is now the first openly transgender state senator in US history. Now, she isn't the first transgender non binary to be elected in the US history. There are others, like Vermont's Taylor Small, who was elected to the House of Representatives. Stephanie Byers is the first trans person of colour to be elected in the state legislature in Kansas. Maury Turner in Oklahoma is the first non-binary to win a seat in state legislature. And there's also Brianna Westbrook, first transgender person to be elected a vice chair of State Democratic Party 2019. And Rosemary Ketchum elected to Wheeling WV City Council, first trans person to be elected to public office in the state. The list is actually bigger than some people think. These are just a few names, and looking at this list does give me hope for the US. For most of my life, when turning on the TV, most shows were American shows and movies with the best time slots. For some reason, Bollywood movies were shown at like 3 a.m., and some of them were actually good. Yes, they are over 2 hours, but still great to watch, especially when they were musicals with great dance numbers. America seems to have a large influence over the UK, and deep down, I'm hoping this increase of more openly trans non binary people will help turn heads and start to have a better conversation. I just hope they don't get Piers Morgan to participate in any of it, because it is literally shooting the cause in the foot. If you want an example, then please feel free to listen to last week's episode where we looked at the interview he did with two non-binary guests. He royally screwed it up in a way only he can. Back to the topic, and the question is, what has changed? Giving a brief look, I believe it could be Trump's attack on the LGBT plus rights. He has attacked them on healthcare, employment, housing, education, commerce, the military, prisons, and sports. He would boast about how he was there for the LGBT plus community and even got his own daughter Tiffany. Yes, he does have another daughter, and she is called Tiffany, to speak on his behalf about how great he is for them. Somehow, a few actually believe this. It feels like a scene where a person walks into the bedroom to find the other half in bed with another person, and they scream, "You're cheating on me." And they reply, "No, I'm not. I can see you in bed with them right now." And all the cheater can say is, "Who are you going to believe, me or your own eyes?" And they end up believing the cheater, walk out the bedroom like nothing happened, while they carry on having sex. Since taking office, all the efforts of the Obama-era presidency had made for the LGBT plus went out the window as soon as Trump was sworn in. In a tweet, he banned transgenders from joining the military with the excuse they were a financial burden as the military pay for their medical care. The US spends $6.2 billion a year on healthcare, which covers the Army, Navy, Air Force, and the Marines. Only 0.13% of the money went to transgender service personnel, so it's $8.4 million. Although research at Pab Center believes the figure is much more lower and is $2.2 million a year. It's a drop in the ocean, a vast ocean, when you see that they spent $40 million on jungle camouflage gear for troops in Afghanistan. There are no jungles in Afghanistan. Trump also made moves to eliminate rules protecting trans students and going to the Supreme Court to rule that gay employees are not protected under sex discrimination and allow businesses to turn away LGBT plus customers if they seek religious exemption. To cut a long story short, Trump is as homophobic and transphobic as they come. Even Caitlyn Jenner kicked herself up the ass for voting for him after telling others Trump will protect the trans and give them a better life. Fact is, he hasn't. It is believed that 3/4 of the LGBT plus voters voted for Biden. I'm not sure about the other quarter, though, and if they did vote for Trump, it's really hard to actually believe there is such thing as an LGBT plus Republican. It's like finding out there is a black member in the KKK. It does remind me of Mission on Grand Theft Auto, where Trevor meets a guy who wants to stop illegal immigrants from coming into the country, yet his sidekick is an illegal Mexican immigrant who cannot speak a lick of English. American. Let's get back to the present. Biden has won and is doubling down on his promises for the LGBT plus and has put together a plan to advance equality in the US, including reinstating Obama-era guidelines, preventing anti-LGBTQ discriminations in areas like federal contracts, fight against abroad carve-outs based on religious beliefs, end the trans-military ban and eliminate LGBTQ youth homelessness. And now we have more transgender non-binary entering government offices. The future is looking brighter. Bearing this in mind, we should not become complacent with how things are. Yes, the USA should give itself a pat on the back and take a breath, a deep one at that, to enjoy the moment they have. But like in Stargate SG-1, where the president wanted a moment to enjoy the Oval Office, us, like himself, will only get a few seconds before it's time to get back to work. Trump isn't going to let this slide. He refuses to admit he has lost and doing everything in his power to stop Biden entering the White House as the new president-elect. Yes, he is going to fail. There is no evidence to back up his claims. But remember, millions of people listen to him. He has 89.9 million followers on his Twitter account. And reading some of their words of wisdom, I'm not sure how they graduated high school, let alone college. They don't seem to be able to read, spell, or hear anything apart from Trump. Unless Trump says he didn't say it, then they say he didn't say it. Yet there is video evidence he did. And then it's just, it was doctored to sound like he did, or he didn't mean it that way. Point being is, Trump may be out of the White House soon, but his followers will be around spreading lies, misinformation, and conspiracy theories while holding on to Trump's every word. The US are going to have to work fast on this, and listening to LGBT plus organisations and charities is going to be a must, so they can address the issue properly. Stop political bodies from spreading lies about transgenders, non-binaries, attacking people in bathrooms, claiming homosexuality is a mental illness, or that kids are too young to know what their sexual orientation is or gender identity. Even if they are just phases a kid goes through, what would you rather have for them? A family that loves and supports them, or a terrifying life where they could get kicked out onto the streets, abused in conversion therapy, or even killed? Now is not the time to slow down. The world is watching. Will they be inspired by changes made in pursuit of equality, or horrified by the ignorance of the conservatives who are willing to die on a hill for a useless, worthless, evil cause? I will leave with this quote from Sarah McBride. Will we be a nation where there's only one way to love, one way to look, one way to live? Or will we be a nation where everyone has the freedom to live openly and equally, a nation that's stronger together? If you want to know more about transgenders, non-binary, then you can visit mermaidsuk.org.uk. We are not sponsored by them, I just love mermaids. Also, if you want to support the podcast, then you can go to paypal.me/Let's Get Awkward. And remember, everyone, stay awkward.